Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would show you some updates and show some people that might be newer to Empyrion some tricks and different things with copying and pasting and color palettes in a new little example I'll show you here in a second. But I just wanted to show you what I've been working on a little bit here the last few days. Um, Messed around creating a wacky little junkyard thing. This is far from complete. Um, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want this to work. I wanted to make some like little wreckage POIs, and I'm sort of combining a bunch of different things in here right now just to make some wrecked looking parts. But I want to add more to it, possibly even have a course through this and some structures that you can go into inside the area. Not to mention I kind of want to get some kind of big like crane mechanism installed in here too. So I'm going to keep on working on this, and that's actually a little bit part of the second part of this video. Um, I think this guy here is fully done. I believe I covered that on the last one. I will probably send that over. Have the devs take a look at that if they want to do that, and a few other little updates over here in this big barrage of some new and a lot of different new creations. So I have textured this little SV miner now. It needs a little bit more detailing yet. I didn't do any decals or other stuff on it yet, but it is fully functional. Um, I was going to probably try to add a couple LCDs back over here too, just for kind of decoration and tell you how much storage you got in your bins. No big deal at all. Did do a little bit of texturing on this weird concept plasma fighter ship. Um, the ship, I mean, it physically looks big in size, but it's deceiving because so much of it is really about this big mechanism of holding 11 plasma turrets throughout the center of it. Um, Now I'll get some interior space on here, but I'll have to figure out how much I'm actually going to get. All this stuff needs to remove, and I got to build a back end yet for it. I did some work also on the interior of that underground POI over there. It's not really ready to show yet though, but I spent some time texturing up some of the areas that I was already had in there, but I got to build a lot of new areas for it. Um, so then this Sunday I'll probably release another creation, and the ones I've got ready to release right now would be, or close to, I would say, would be this TIE fighter miner fighter, kind of a multi-purpose ship really. Um, this little Tier 1 SV and this Tier 2 mining SV. Um, I think this one's I still got to build an interior for this one and this one, so that is coming. And this one's going to need an interior as well. I think I will go through and actually make this a reality, though. I kind of like the ship. It's uniquely shaped from most of the ships I've made before, so it doesn't really look like anything else, and I kind of like that. It is illegal, though. I'm going to leave it with the plasma turrets that it has in it right now, or I'm sorry, plasma guns or launchers, whatever. So if you're playing by straight game rules on your weapon limits, it won't work. However, it will absolutely be CPU compliant, and everything else about it would be legal. It's just the weapon counts are off. I'm not trying to put too many weapons necessarily on it. Like if I were to remove a lot of these plasma guns and replace them with rocket launchers or other rail guns or something like that, I could make it all work and it would be compliant. But then that's no fun. It kind of takes away all the fun out of the ship, and I don't want to do that either. Um, but this would be basically for taking on POIs. It'd be shielded. It's a very fast ship, and I think even after I get the rest of it finished up on the inside, it's still probably going to be the fastest SV I think I might have made to date. These thrusters are really giving it a big boost, and it can really turn on a dime. It is also built out of hardened steel and not just regular steel, I believe. Or am I just full of crap there? Let me take a look. Yeah, hardened steel. Yeah. Well, that's weird. Like one of these blocks, yeah, they're hardened steel. Why does it say this? That one's not, and the other one, I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, it is hardened steel. Um, Also, now this was in the live stream with Excalibur, but I just wanted to show you how this base turned out. Um, it is pretty much fully finished, and on the exterior, one thing I didn't realize when I was building this too, and I was, kind of a little upset that I was throwing all these solar panels up on top of the roof there, and I'm thinking, oh, that's just wasted space. Well, it turns out, and I didn't know this, that they work just the same as having regular blocks there. So yes, you can land crafts on top of here, and they actually dock and everything too. So that's really, really cool. There's a little ladder on the side over here, so you can actually climb up. It doesn't have interior access to the roof though. And this is a tier 1. It is pretty cheap. It ended up with a 35-minute and 30-second build time. It's not using any rare resources whatsoever. This biggest thing to build this is stone dust. It does need some carbon substrate. In order to make this work, being CPU compliant, and you can see I'm very, very tight on CPU here, I had to make some sacrifices in the blocks I had originally placed on the floor of it. I switched those to carbon substrate, which used less CPU than concrete blocks, and that made it so I could keep all 8 minigun turrets that are installed on here. Now, minigun turrets use a lot less CPU than cannon turrets, so I believe cannon turrets are tougher, but with 8 of these being able to shoot, I'll really cover the range around the base. I would say its only vulnerable spot really would be if you got yourself right up over here on this side of the base, or the AI did, I should say. That I don't think these turrets would be able to necessarily get a good line of sight on you if you're pressed right there. But to be honest, by seeing how the AI attacks, I don't think they should ever get that close to the base. I think whatever they were doing would get shot down before it got in that range. So I think it'll be nicely protected. Now I'm going to go to mood lighting to show you the interior. Now this one's got an LCD that won't remain in it, just for kind of a joke for the live stream there. But inside of here, it comes with 2 large constructors. It's got 4 cargo boxes. Now this base does not have a lot of cargo storage. I was thinking, well, I didn't want to add in a controller mechanism because that was going to bring up the cost and throw me over the CPU. So what I set up is each one of these constructors has like an input and an output box. And then you have all your other stuff too: O2 armor locker, fridge, food processor, and a clone chamber. And this is the LCD that'll go for the actual version that gets released to the workshop. All the parts that I originally had outside, I changed the wall around and put them so you can gain access to them from the interior, which is easier if you're going to mod or update this. Even when this base was getting used inside of the live stream, we decided that we wanted to add a container cargo extension. So what I did to quickly do that is replace like all these floor blocks around here with cargo extensions, and I ended up, I think, removing this chest and putting a cargo controller right there, which is a easy and quick way to get it up to if you want to hold a lot of stuff on the inside. It also needed a tier 2 block for that, and I believe it needed an additional generator. But I kind of left everything just open for customization. Like if you want to add parts to this, you could like remove this generator, put in like a bigger one, have an extra square there for a tier block. You could do a lot of little things like that to customize the base. But it was really just meant to be super cheap and tier 1. Now I could have built a smaller base, of course, but I'd rather have a little bit bigger. Cost-wise, it's not terribly different, but this one also will really give you a nice boost if you want to do some farming. It's got 2 separate farm plots. These blocks are also meant to remove to add in grow plots. Now this one I left the grow plots out by stock, so you don't need to manufacture any of those before you can build the base. I figure that'd be nice. And then you've got a couple little lights over here to turn on your individual grow lights for each section. The way it's kind of set up too, it's also probably pretty good for co-op. So each you know, if you got two people playing, each hat would have their own rig over here that they could do what they're doing with, and of course you could share stuff too. But I'm just saying you could kind of separate that a little bit. You do have to share the food processor and refrigerator and some of this stuff over here though. But anyway, I think that one's fully finished. Sort of. I'm probably going to remove that LCD. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you guys, too. I'll check comments before Sunday and tally them up. But I got a number of different things I could release this Sunday, and I'm trying to just release one thing a week. What would you like to see released? Now, 4 options. I think there's 4 options. One would be this base. 2 would be the SV Tier 2 miner. Now, this one, because it is a miner and comes with the mining drills, it is an unlock level 20 and does require some Erestrium and Zacosium. Looking at the stats on this, it's got an hour and 2-minute build time. It's going to need 279 of each of those. I think everything else in here, well, and some neodymium and a little bit of cobalt. So this one's a little bit more expensive despite being a Tier 2. And I got this Tier 1, kind of a starter SV. Its primary role would be kind of a general purpose scouting SV. It's got 4 Gatling guns. It could engage light threats. It's not a POI buster, so it's not really, shouldn't be intended for that. It does have actually 7K storage, but I think I've got, yeah, I got to change my label for this cargo bay. It says 6K, it's got 7K. And it also has 500 ammo storage plus an additional cargo box, armor locker, O2 dispenser. But it's nimble, it's very fuel efficient, and it can easily move the cargo at a full capacity and fly actually pretty good yet. So not a problem there. So let's see, and what else was there? I think. Okay, so we got the base. Oh yeah, and the TIE fighter. So, what would you like to see released? In the comments, if you want to see the TIE fighter released first. All these will get released to the workshop in due time, though, so keep that in mind. TIE fighter would be, just call that 1 or TIE fighter, 2 or SV Tier 1, 3 or SV Tier 2 miner, and 4 being the starter base. I got it called the Pilgrim right now. Name could change. So basically 1, 2, 3, or 4, and I will work on releasing that one. I didn't mention the other ones. This Tier 3 SV, Tier 4 SV, and this other Tier 4 SV. These are not complete yet. I don't know if I'm going to get time before then to finish those up, but that still ends up with like seven unreleased Skaar ships, plus of course the POI too, and a couple. Once I'll keep on plugging away at that underground POI. It's gonna take a while though, so I'm just kind of hitting that off and on. And this Junkyard POI thing, that's something else too. I don't have a high priority on this, but it's interesting, and I'm doing something a little bit different on this one than I did before. Even as you go through here, a bunch of these things were newly created, little junk pieces, I guess you can say, but some I actually grabbed from existing creations. Like you can probably see that this is kind of a head of a raider, and this is a tank tread of a crawler. And this piece over here is a tower chunk out of part of this building. So over here, I wanted to show a couple things. I've been getting a lot of comments lately on color palettes and things like that. So basically what I've got here is this is all currently colored with the default color palette. And I wanted to show you how to grab a color palette from something else and get it to the creation you want it on. And then I want to show some fun with copy and pasting, with copying from other creations and bringing it into a different creation. So to start with, here's our bone stock default color palette. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to another Skaar creation. Let's say we go to this base over here, and I wanna take the color palette that's on this base and I want to move it over to that. So I'm gonna right click on my color tool. I'm gonna get in here. I'm gonna hit configure. The way I've adopted to do this the easiest. Now a lot of in the past I used to save individual color palettes on different tabs. That works until you start a new game. These alternative color palettes do not get saved with the creation itself. So if you're in a different session, any palettes that you have in here are not there anymore. But if you're in the same game session, they will remain. But I kind of stopped doing that, and I kind of went for this other idea. And that's not the color palette of this. I don't think I'm close enough. One sec. You got to be very, very close to the creation when you're doing this too. So, okay, now here's the correct color palette. So what I typically do is I hold down the shift key and I go up to the top left. I'll touch on that one, and then I'm sorry. I screwed that up. Here, let's start again. Okay, configure. Don't hold down the shift key. Touch on the top left. Hold down the shift key, touch on the top or the bottom right, and then hit copy. Okay, when you do that, you'll see the highlight boxes around all the colors in the palette. Once you do that, you just hit OK and you get out of there. And then you go up to the creation you want to put that color palette on. We'll jump over here, and it's kind of repeating the same process. So I'll go here, I'll hit configure, I will touch on the top right, hold down shift, touch on the bottom left, and hit paste, and bam, now it took all the colors from the other creation and moved them over to this creation. And that is a good way to do it. Now alternatively, there are tabs up here. So I could go to, say, tab 1, which looks like it's a krill palette right now, and I could hit paste as well, and that would also make this tab the Skaar palette. And you could make it a lot of these different ones. Like this one is a Skaar palette over here again. Looks like it's a little bit alternative to what I've been using. And you can make more palettes. So I could, you could manipulate all these colors. And on the colors themselves too, what you're looking at over here on all these slide bars is your H is hue, S is saturation, V, I think there's another word for it, but I typically call it intensity. And then you have red, green, and blue. So when messing with colors, a lot of times I'll take like a color that I'll typically never use, like this one, and we could change the hue of it. Say we wanted this blue. Most of the default colors I think are very much are way too saturated, so I tend to really dial down the saturation levels of these colors, and a lot of times I also dial down the intensity of the colors. But yeah, you can go through and make any colors you want. Now, if you plan on making like a whole series of creations that fit together and share the same color palette, it's kind of nice sometimes to just try to come up with some kind of default structure so you can keep on reusing that same color palette over and over on different creations and have everything in line. It's also easier to work with when you're coloring it too, because once you build something with that color palette, building the next thing and kind of knowing what colors you want where and how is a little quicker in the process. So that's basically what I wanted to show you on this part. Now the next part I wanted to show you is a while back in the comments someone suggested that build a base and use like a mech leg or something in it for some stuff. So what I was thinking about doing is I spawned this little mech over here, and I was thinking about taking its leg, or one of its legs, and adding it to the junk pile over here. Now I got this junk pile in the air right now simply so I can see the bottom of it, but when it would actually spawn in game, it would be flat with the ground, kind of like it's shown over there. So what I want to do is I want to take this mech leg, and it's not even the same color palette, and I don't even care. So I'll hit N, get into the tools here. I'll go to selection, touch on one of these boxes here. Now you hit N again so you can move your view, and then you can You can scale it, and by touching on the center here, and this will allow you to scale your selection box. I've showed a lot of this stuff before, but this is again, you know, people new to the game that haven't done this kind of stuff, and especially copying it from a different creation too. That's another little bit of a trick. It's not hard at all though. So what I'm going to do is just simply drag this box and make sure it's around all the blocks I want to copy. So we'll, let's see, I'll copy it to right there. I think that would be about right. And, oh, I got to go down one more block. All right. So now simply hit copy. Okay. Then immediately what you want to do is remove selection. If you don't do this, it will not copy correctly to the other creation. So I copied it, remove selection. So now there's nothing going on there. I hit escape to get out of there. I'll go up to the other creation I want to copy the leg to. Get back into the N key tool. You need to make a selection on this creation. And usually I just touch somewhere. It doesn't matter where you touch, but long as you get a box on it. That's basically letting the game know that you're now actively working on this creation and not the previous one. And then you simply hit paste over here. So here, let me back away a little bit, and now we can see we have a mech leg. But of course, I took this mech leg from an SV, and this is a base. So the block sizes are way different. So this is 4 times the scale of what it would be on the SV. So now let's place this leg somewhere. And again, it's kind of being meant to be rubble. So I think what I'm going to do is not have it stand upright. So I'm going to hop in here. I'm going to go to the. If you keep on hitting this, it goes through 3 different modes. First mode is move, and then you've got scale, which is normally only selected for selecting a creation. If you try to scale something that's built already, it doesn't do anything. It will not scale it like bigger. And then there's rotate. Rotate works. So what I want to do is I wanted to rotate this on its side somehow here. Let's go to that side. And then I'm going to place it somewhere. At the same height as everything else. Basically, I'm kind of setting this up so the ground height is, well, it's even all the way across the bottom. Don't mind the core placement. That'll have to move or be completely eliminated on this one. So I think this would need to, you know, actually I want to turn it around the other way. It's going to be a little bit of a rough one to place. I think I'll place it right where it is. Yeah, actually I think that's correct anyway. Yeah, that lines up. Okay, never mind. So let's back it off a little bit. And would it look better rotated at a different angle for fitting in here? I'm trying to keep this box away from other creations. If it overlaps something else that's in here already, it will delete those blocks. So I'm just trying to keep it right out of range so it doesn't do that. So I think I'm far enough there. Alright, so we got the mech leg, and now all I do is paste it. Now, to make sure you don't have an illegal build, especially since I copied this from a different kind of creation, SV versus a base, any parts that are unique to that SV to keep the build legal have to be removed. So in this case, there are no such things as landing pads for bases or thrusters. So I'm getting rid of those parts. Just want to take a look inside the leg to make sure I didn't bury. Oh yeah, there's some more thrusters here. There's RCS, a few RCSs. So I'm just kind of clearing all that out. I just want to make sure there's nothing in here that would be considered illegal. I don't know if the game converted these vents because there's a different vent for SVs versus versus bases, and I don't know if it actually translated that automatically or not. That is a good question, really. Not sure if I need to remove those or not. If I do, it's not a big deal. But okay, so we got the mech leg. So now this mech leg totally doesn't match the rest of the Skaar stuff. So what I'm going to do is try to tune it up so it looks very similar to what's over there. And let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the base metal on this one and change it to probably the base color scheme and material that I've been using for the Skaar in this case. So I'll select that texture, this color, and I'm going to do a replace all. So I'll touch on this surface here, and that should get all of that particular one. Now this, because the clean metal texture, I actually used two different textures to make the surface. I'll have to hit them both. So that will hit all of those. Now it matters what color it is too. So here, let's change another one like that. I don't use too much of this texture with the Skaar. I do, but not for the same way it's being used here. So I'm going to change that to something else too. How about this here? Now keep in mind, if you're mass filling it, you cannot rotate the textures. It's just going to do it how it does it, and that's it. So let's get rid of this over here too with in this case, I don't want to replace the texture. I probably shouldn't have done that last time either, but I'm just going to, so I'm going to turn off the texture part here, and we're just going to replace the color. And let's say I wanted the blue to be gray, and the black here to be this shade. I guess it already was. And this textures here is way too clean for Skaar, so let me swap that out with something. How about, yeah, we'll go, how about the dark and that. And this one, I don't want to replace the texture, we'll just, okay, the color's the same. So that's kind of how I brought these other parts in here too. Same idea, just taking chunks of stuff. But then what I've been doing too is I've been trying to learn a little bit better what blocks have damage blocks and what blocks don't. So the next process here, I'll go in and try to replace some of these blocks with damage versions of those blocks. Like let's say we take that block there, which is actually this one, and I will fit that in there to give it some wreckage in various spots. Let's see, that block I believe is also available for damage blocks here. I think I can do that one too. Yes, okay. Just, you know, probably go through and replace quite a few more of these, and then probably do some more custom texture work, color it a little slightly different in the process. A lot of times I'll save myself some time though when I put in like a new block like I did over here. A lot of times I will do a mass replace and with like a default texture, so then I don't have to hit them all up again. Let's set that to that as well. I might move all this stuff around a little bit. Like this suddenly looks like it's really far out from everything else. Now what I started, the last thing I did on this was I started building this little thing over here, which I kind of wanted to turn into a small structure you can go into inside of this junkyard. And I'm not sure how big this junkyard is going to be yet. I just kind of expanding it out and moving stuff around mostly. Just gonna hit a bunch of those up real quick there. And I'll customize it a little bit more later. But yeah, that's about all there is to it, and it's quite easy. And it's really neat too, because if you got like different ships, you know, like I could spawn in some more creations, other ships I've made or whatever, and take chunks of them and start plastering it in and building something out of it, out of all the parts. One other concept I've been trying to do with this, and it has to do with um, I didn't want everything to look voxely the best I can. So what I did is, like, a lot of these parts are like um, basically at 90-degree angles. Like this piece here is a 90-degree square. This one also is like 90 degrees. And then I purposely put in some parts over here that I was building at a 45-degree angle. Like this one over here, kind of built 45, followed up by this one over here, another one over here, and then a couple of these are even at 22.5-degree angles. And I'm doing that in certain formation because when you're walking through this on the ground, I'm trying to present the illusion that everything is just randomly thrown on the ground and it's not in some kind of 90-degree formation. So that's why I'm doing these breakups at certain points with certain pieces angling. So when you can't tell really what direction you're facing or which way's front or back, or you kind of got that. If you're walking this way, it kind of looks like maybe that's the piece that's at the angle and not this one. If you get enough of that in the creation, it'll no longer look boxy at all. And that's what I'm really trying to do, even on the placement of where I'm putting junk and rubble on the ground with this. It's just getting those 45 degrees mixed in with the others gives that kind of illusion that everything is not, it's just laying there and there is no, like, it's not at a certain angle. Um, if everything was at a 90-degree angle, or basically squared off like this, it would just kind of look like a bunch of square stuff all over the place, and you would lose that feeling, I think. So that's at least what I'm trying to go on that. So anyway, that's about all I really wanted to show you today, and I'm going to keep on messing with stuff. And I do want to get to that a new krill landing pad specifically designed for the beholder. I've been kind of sitting back thinking of ideas right now for that, and I'm also kind of sitting back thinking of ideas for a modular either space station or ground base, or maybe something that could accommodate both. I've been trying to figure out exactly a good plan really before I wanted to start it. I had a little bit of experience with the past building parts for a space station with some previous modular construction, but I wanted to refine that a little bit and get it thought out well. So I'm probably going to go with a different block size on this one, and the point is that I wanted the parts, the individual pieces you assembled, to be cheaper in cost, because the other one's problem was the scale ratio I was using would force me to waste a lot of space. Although it looked nice because I was getting a lot of detail in the parts, which is cool, kind of like double layers on some of the walls and things like that. It just was ramping up size class really, really quickly, which can be bad, and it was also kind of making it more expensive than it needed to be. Last thing I really want is to have a modular base. Just because it's modular, have to cost a whole lot more than a non-modular base that was, hand done. And then again, releasing a modular type creation to the workshop, people would kind of have to know how to work with it. Because it would be basically a bunch of parts that have predefined selection boxes around it that you would have to know how to copy around and paste accordingly to build a larger structure. I'm going to do it anyway. I always wanted to put that out. I just hope, I fear that I'd get bazillions of comments constantly asking how to do it. And if that's the case, I might even try to do like a little tutorial video on how to do it with that once I get it done. But these are future projects. Other future projects too, Krill Space Station, Krill, the 5th Krill POI that I was working on. They're going to come eventually. It's just, yeah, I've been very much into the Skaar lately. I was that way with the Krill too. There's a point in time though when you build so much of one style creation that it starts to get a little bit old and you start to get a little bored of building the same type of thing. But I do find the Skaar quite refreshing because of it's so, it's kind of like anything goes because it's scrap and salvage. They could take parts from all kinds of stuff and different influences all over the place and give it that kind of Skaar grungy look, and it works even though they're drastically different from one another. I think it is fit. Um, all right, but that's about everything. And well, you guys have a nice weekend. Also, well, yeah, it sounds like Sunday 3 p.m. Be again in a Let's Play with Excalibur, continuing our mission to play the game. And also, I can't, what I'm trying to do with that too is build up some things that can be used for those playthroughs, so I can like thoroughly test them in game before actually releasing them. And last time, basically tested this base out and tested this little Tier 1 SV out, and yeah, I was pretty happy with both. If I was playing the game again, I would probably be prone to spawn this base, just well realizing that later on I would probably want to modify this base and add a cargo extension system and a Tier 2 block, as well as a bigger generator. But, you know, as in Shield, I don't think this base would, unless you really customized it, it does not have the room for a shield in here. They're just too big, and I'm so tight on blocks that I really can't even add in a passive spot to add a shield. I guess I could if you got rid of some farm plots in here, but the ceiling's not tall enough. I'd have to cut out the whole floor, which would cause a oxygen leak. And even Excalibur was asking when he was walking in the video here, if he can remove these blocks on the ceiling, and is there another block row above this? And the answer is no. And I basically said this is an illusion. This is just a single block row across the entire ceiling, except for in this immediate location above where these parts are here. And it's just basically using alternative blocks and some half blocks and thin blocks and other blocks, creating patterns into the ceiling to give it a lot of like depth and a lot of things to look at, rather than a flat row of blocks that are across there. And I do that with just about every creation. I keep on trying to mix it up and try not to do the same patterns again and again on creation. So I keep on always trying to try something new. And there's literally limitless amounts of weird patterns you can do on ceilings and walls and things like that. So there's a lot of blocks that'll work for that. Basically, the only requirement is that they have one surface completely flat on it. So like up here, all these blocks are flat, and you won't know that they're all like partial blocks carved in below, as you can see there, or most of them. Some aren't. All right. Well, you all have yourself a good weekend, and I will see you later.